Hello, it's Matthew Ghost here at JTech, doing my annual vehicle inspection on our Transtar here. I'm going to start off my inspection by doing a walk around of the tires, rims, and axles. We're going to start by looking at our tread pattern, looking for any dry cracks or anything, looking for uneven wear on the tread. We're also going to be looking for all the lug nuts and studs in place. Seeing if it looks flat, it look good. We're also, while we're looking, we're going to be looking for any type of fluid leakage around these cups here. So that one looks good. We're going to come to the back axle. We have two back to back. We're going to get down here and look and verify all the lug nuts are on each wheel and that the tires are wearing even. It's very important. No leakage anywhere. From what I can see, everything looks good. Want to come back to this side, I do the same thing. Tread looks even. All the lug nuts and studs are there, and there's no axle leaking from this axle seal. So that looks all good. Last but not least, I'm going to get right here. Right here seems to be a tool of some sort in the tire. Definitely need to mark that in and inspect the tire for any leaks. It just pops right out, but you can't ever be too safe. We're going to take this in and find out whose tool this was and why it was out of their box. Again, be very sure to make sure all your lug nuts and studs are there. You don't want no rusting bitten around here because that shows a sign of loose lug nuts when there's rust buildup. No leakage here, so that's fine. Alright, so we did our walk around of the tires, axles, basic stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get inside the cab. We're going to start checking our, inspecting our parking brake, our gauges, our warning light indicators, and all that stuff. Here back in the cab again, we're going to start up our truck. Our low warning buzzer just turned off. We're going to make sure that our air pressure and gauges are reading. If you see, we're right at 120 pounds. Everything like that is good. First thing you want to do is, after you do that, is apply your parking brake, which is already applied. You want to release, and you rolled so you made sure that that works. Also put it in gear. Started to shake, so our parking brakes are working just fine. We're going to leave that applied. Not going to worry about the trailer because we don't have a trailer, but I don't see any low warning indicators, which means our air system is up to par. We're going to go ahead and get outside the vehicle. We're going to check our wiper system really quick before we go out to the other side of the truck. Our highs, our lows, and we do have sprayers. So all that is functioning correctly. We don't have any streaks. So the wiper system seems to be up to par as far as our inspection is concerned. Now we're going to shut the vehicle off just for a moment to walk around since our air pressure is built up and listen for air leaks. So we'll exit the truck now and go check for air leaks. Ready? All right. The air leaks will mostly come from these bags on your airbags, but also it could come from your air chambers. You want to be sure to get around to every last one and check. This truck has disc brakes, so the chambers look a little bit different, but they act the same. So you want to listen for air leaks around hoses like this, or the casing, or any kind of diaphragm. You want to physically go to each individual wheel and make sure you don't hear nothing. It's kind of hard to tell on a video, but I'm listening as I'm walking by for any audible air leaks. Again, we're looking for the chamber and the hoses that are connected. And there don't seem to be any. If you do hear air leak or a sound that sounds like an air leak, it's good to use a bottle of soapy water, spray on it, it'll bubble up, it'll show you if there's an air leak. Going each individual wheel. There's our chamber right there.
Again, this truck has disc brakes, so it looks a little bit different than a drum system, but it's the same concept. Here's your air feed line right here. No audible sounds, so we're good there. We have one more wheel to inspect. Come to this side. And right here is our last chamber. We just, like I said, want to make sure the hose is fine. There's no cracks in it. If there is, you want to label it, put it on your report so you can tell your foreman before you go on your trip. And last but not least, we're going to be checking our steering and our lightage. Going in the truck now, he's going to operate the steering wheel, so we can inspect the steering box for any type of plays or leaks. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and start it up. He's going to turn the wheel. As he turns the wheel, we're going to look for this arm. Make sure that your heim joint or U-joint for your steering shaft has grease and a fitting that is accessible, and there's obviously grease on this one, so that is fine. Okay, we're going to go back now while my assistant hits the brake pedal and make sure we have lights. Go ahead and apply it. All right. We obviously have one missing. We're definitely going to have to address that before we go on any type of travel or trip. But we do have power going to the back, so that's fine. If you wouldn't mind, hit the reverse lights. Here again, we're getting our assistant to put the transmission in the reverse so we can make sure that we have a reverse light. Alright, you're good. Shut it down. We obviously have reverse lights, so that is good. The last thing we're going to inspect is our exhaust. We're going to come here. As we were going around the vehicle while it was running, we were listening for exhaust leaks, little noises, little ticks. None of that happened, but you just want to put your eyes on it to make sure the heat shield, all your clamps are tight, and there's no cracks or non-factory welds. All the way back to your catalyst and your system. You also want to be aware of your DPF sensors up here. And your regen injector, which is your 7th injector, which is right here. You want to be aware of all that for service and make sure it's up to par, make sure it's all hooked up. You want to make sure the heat shield, it's got a little vibration to it. Seems like it's touching that arm right there. That is definitely something that needs to be addressed. It looks like it's also been unbolted a few times. So we're going to write that down in our log so we can have it addressed as well. We don't want vibration to weaken this line because that is obviously touching. We have a few things on our list. Again, you want to operate the doors. Make sure they shut and close how they should and operate. And suspension, you want to come back here and check your leaf springs. Like we already checked our airbags for leaks, but you want to make sure their position's good. You want to make sure all your linkages are good. Your U-bolts, which are, excuse me, right here. Your U-bolts, make sure they're not deformed or cracked or any of that nature. As long as all that is good, you want to come back right here. We have a loose bolt on the level for the air rod. That is something that you really should have tight, and it is almost backed off. We need to write that down in our log as well, because if that falls off, our air rod will be independent. We will not be able to stop our air rod from working or operating how it should. So definitely gonna put that in our log. On our fifth wheel, some are Teflon, some are greased. This looks like this has been greased. Depending on the manufacturer you have, you need to find out what it needs and if it has it. You also want to test, make sure it works. The arm is free. It works how it should, as that's what's going to be that hooks your trailer up. You also want to make sure the arm stays intact while you operate. And basically the last thing to do is to check your frame for any kind of cracks or non-factory welds. So go back here and you're going to look. There's a little bit of rust buildup, which we will write down. A lot of rust buildup. There's actually a pretty fair amount. And you just want to look. Right here, there's a crack in the weld. We definitely want to send that to the fab shop. We're going to write it in our repair order in our annual inspection sheet. So just like going over repetition, you want to make sure that everything looks how it should, just how everything flows. All looks good on the frame. You want to observe your gas tank, your straps on your gas tank, body sides, and your engine for any type of leaks of some sort. If you see a leak, spot it, find it, report it in your log. We're going to go back here. We're going to get up in this truck. We're going to be looking at the gauges as we go through this. You just want to be sure your oil pressure, your water temp, and all your air gauge and voltage gauge are operating how they should. As long as all that's good, and no warning indicators. As long as all that is good, you're ready for to turn in your inspection sheet on what you have found. Let your foreman know, address the issues, fix them, and get back on the road. Like always, thanks for watching. See you next time.